All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Mona, and I'm the Communications Coordinator for MBEC, and welcome everyone to today's webinar on doing business, on how to make money on social media. Today's session is brought to you by the City of Mississauga, presented by IDEA. To start off, I will be reading our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the lands which constitute the present-day City of Mississauga as being part of the treaty lands and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Seneca and Attawandaron and wider Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat First Nation. We recognize these peoples, the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe nations within the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and all other people who inhabited these lands since time immemorial. The City of Mississauga is home to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. As a municipality, the City of Mississauga is actively working towards reconciliation by continuing to strengthen our relationship with Indigenous communities. We formally recognize the Anishinaabe origins of our name and continue to make Mississauga a safe space for all Indigenous peoples. So a bit more about IDEA. We are your central source for small business information, resources, and guidance for small business owners and entrepreneurs. IDEA is a part of the City of Mississauga's Economic Development Office, and we are currently providing our support and services remotely, and our office hours are from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 p.m. Some of our services and resources include free business information and guidance, webinars and workshops, resources and tools, training and mentorship programs, as well as entrepreneurship programs. Feel free to reach out to us about any of your small business concerns. And if you'd like to connect with us, check us out on social media at ideamississauga.ca on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as Instagram, as well as mississauga.ca/idea. We also offer our business advisory services, and these services include our legal services, accounting services, business operations, sales strategy services, digital marketing strategy services, as well as our scale-up services. More information can be found at ideamississauga.ca/contact/business advisory services. We also have our My Main Street program. This is a new program which supports new and existing small businesses in Mississauga's Clarkson, Cooksville, Malton, Port Credit, Streetsville, and downtown core area Main Street communities. The My Main Street program helps brick and mortar Main Street businesses to attract new and existing consumers. And more information can be found at the URL listed on the slide. Another program we offer is the Summer Company Program. This program involves business training and mentorship to help you get your business up and running, and the opportunity as well to earn a grant of up to $3,000 to help you launch your summer business. And this is open to 15 to 29-year-olds. Again, more information can be found on the link on this slide. We also have the Starter Company Plus program. This program has free training and business skills development, free mentorship and guidance, as well as the opportunity to apply for a program grant of up to $5,000. And lastly, we have the Scale Up program. This is a 4-month program that supports innovative and inclusive companies to grow and overcome barriers. And you also get the opportunity to attend workshops, connect with experienced mentors, and pitch your business to investors. Our team of experts is here to help. We have John Lamb, who is our entrepreneurship and innovation specialist, Susan Lovelace, who is our small business consultant, as well as myself. I am the communications coordinator, but I also do digital marketing consultations. And our contact information can be found on this slide. To see any of our upcoming events, such as similar to this webinar, please visit ideamississauga.ca/events. And to connect with us, this is our contact information. So we have our email, idea@mississauga.ca, our phone number, 905-615-4460, as well as our website, www.ideamississauga.ca. You can also find us on social media, as mentioned before, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Idea Mississauga. We also have our e-newsletter, which you can sign up for through this QR code. I'll leave it up for a few seconds if you'd like to capture this on your phone and sign up. And just a few housekeeping rules before we get started on our webinar today. So the audio is available for speaker and panelists only. So is the camera display as well. It's only available for our speakers and panelists. The session is being recorded and will be available after today's session. We will be sending it out through an email and it will be available on our website as well. Please use the chat area to offer any comments and questions, and please put it to all panelists so that everyone on the webinar will be able to see. And today's presentation, resources, and a feedback survey will be emailed to attendees after today's session. So to get started, I will be quickly introducing our speakers for today from Acorn Studio Marketing. We have Laura Dunkley and Emily Watson. So I'll just hand it over to you guys to briefly introduce yourselves.
Great. Thanks, Mona. Welcome, everyone. As Emily is starting to present, we will say welcome again and let you know that we will be taking questions. Drop them into the chat. And as Mona mentioned, if you can put it to all panelists, we'll make sure that we get it. If we don't get it right away, there will be a Q&A towards the end. And so thank you for all your questions ahead of time. It's a lot to cover. Social media is a really popular tactic for managing your small business sales and marketing. And for today, we're focusing on how to make money on social media, specifically how to turn those followers that you have and convert them into buyers. So Emily is presenting, and to let you know too, the slides will be available afterwards, and stay to the end because there's a download link as well that will be free to all of our participants. So to put a little bit more background into our team, I'm Laura Dunkley and have been an entrepreneur pretty much my entire life, and excited to now have transitioned from running my own business, focusing on business planning, but also digital marketing and communications to grow your business. So, and I also welcome Emily, my partner, who is the creative director as much as I am strategy and serious and PR and communications background. Emily is the creative graphic designer who also is an expert in the world of social media. So she will be leading today's sessions, and I will be in monitoring your questions. And also with my focus is on LinkedIn and B2B. So for any of you that are in that world too, we'll be offering insights there as well as for not-for-profit. So there will be insights there along the way. All right. Today's agenda, we are going to get started with always remembering it's strategy first. So understanding how to set your goals and then create that content that converts. Also reaching out, you are going to be turning your followers into buyers, but how do we reach even further and followers? Where Emily's going to talk about some tactics in that area. And then find those creative ways to make money and buy directly on social media. Some are more product focused, but there are some tactics if you're selling services. And then to leverage influencer marketing. That's a really big topic, and Emily's going to spend some time on that one. And then at the end of the day, how do we know if we're doing a great job? What are those key metrics and tactics that we can use to measure and analyze our performance? So let's get started, Emily. So talking about goal setting, we had mentioned first and foremost, you want to make sure that you do revisit your marketing plan. So your business plan, the focus is always to make sure that whatever we do for marketing is focusing on pushing forward those business goals. So for today's session, the focus will be on revenue, and then your marketing as well as how do we get more traffic, build awareness, and then move them all the way through the funnel. So this is an example of the 4 stages, and you'll find this familiar because you'll often see this in a typical marketing funnel. And that is first and foremost, we want to build that awareness. How do we let people know where we are and who we are and what we have to do? And then as they find us and they go, oh, this is great. This is exactly who I need to talk to, or this brand that I want to purchase from. And now we're moving through going, but is it really the right price for me? Do they really have what I need right now? All of those consideration is part of that awareness, through to consideration, then they go, perfect, it's exactly what I need. Now, how do I buy from you? So that purchase area of the funnel is a lot about where we're trying to get to, right? How do we convert them into followers, into buyers? And then retention. That's how do we keep them around? How do we get them to be repeat purchasers and ambassadors for our program to talk about who we are and refer to other ones, and then come back and buy more and even add on sales. So that's that awareness, consideration, purchase, and retention. And we're going to go through each tactics for each of those stages.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So starting off with awareness, and as Laura mentioned, you have the user. How are they going to learn about your company? So if they land on your profile, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, anything like that, you need to be able to let them know who you are, what you do, where you are or where to buy from you, why they should be buying from you, and how. So that how is the next step from them finding you, which will lead you further down the funnel. So some like really important ways to have that awareness effect on your profile is optimizing your profile. And for example, we're using a similar layout to Instagram and LinkedIn. So it's starting out with that who. Everything has to be in your bio. You have your company name, then your what industry you are, what you sell, where you are, where to buy from you, and the how, which is usually the call to action at the very bottom. And then the why. So why should these people be buying from you? And this is a really important um, way for you to connect with somebody right away and using those key words that will attract your audience. So for example, if you are in a business of sustainability, you really want to use those key words that people are going to pick out right away. Another really important thing about your bio is that you have to understand that people are going to skim read. And this is, a quick, you have approximately 2 seconds to essentially grab their attention with your bio. Now, if we get away from the bio and moving more into your actual profile, this is where you have to really show your brand consistency, your community, and your balanced content. So using those visual aspects of your social media profile to really inspire and show people the type of community that they are going to join essentially when they buy from you. And having that balanced content is something that we will talk about down the road in this presentation. But it's that balanced content between, videos, showing pictures of people, product. So it's not just the same photo every single time. And I know we're using Instagram layout as kind of an example because it's very visual. But if we think about other platforms like LinkedIn and like Facebook that aren't as visual and definitely are more text heavy, it's still having that balanced content of, not just promotional. Like it needs to be, sharing other things that people have posted. Um, and sharing other products and places that you are and events. It's having a variety to express that community that these people are going to be involved in when they purchase from you.
And Emily, just to jump on that awareness piece, in the Facebook, it's that about section.
Hmm.
It's sometimes quite often underutilized by people. So really explain what that community is because they've landed on that, right? So they want to understand, is this the right community for me? Are you going to be sharing the right information that is going to be of interest to me? That's why I'm going to follow you.
Absolutely.
LinkedIn, right, is your header and then it's your summary. And so encourage them, tell them what kind of content you share, and then encourage them to follow you. So,
Yeah, and Facebook is great too because it gives you a lot of room to add in more details about like your services and stuff. So it's building that awareness that keeps them on social media but still learning about your business, right? So and I think that's what most people forget is they don't add in a lot of information on their social media profiles because they think they're just going to go right over to their website. You can't always assume that people are going to leave the comfort of their social media platform because, they have their routine, you're scrolling, you're doing your thing. Um, and a lot of these platforms don't want people to leave social media. So if you can get them hooked on your profile without having to leave, then that is the key of awareness.
And it's all searchable. And like you'd
Yeah.
mentioned about the sustainability, if you're in LinkedIn, make sure you offer, there's a place to offer what kind of services you have. And so that it's in your summary when someone types in the advanced search, I'm looking for a freelance writer. Make sure that your posts show up. Make sure that your summary shows up. So really think through that, what you offer and what the expectation is for your community.
And it's what people are looking for. So
Mhm.
it all goes back to those keywords and really understanding your target audience. You can't really spread awareness if you don't know who you're targeting. So that is a really, really important factor.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so moving on to consideration. All right, so you've grabbed their attention. Now they're on your profile, they're hooked and they want to learn more about your product or your service, and they want to know how you as a business can help this person. So now this consideration part of the funnel is building trust. So how do you get this user to trust in your product and trust in your service? So some really good ways of doing that is showcasing testimonials, so things other people have said. This could be sharing user-generated content, so content that has been created by somebody else of someone that has used your product and then reshared and reposted. And we'll talk a little bit more about that down the road. um, Showing behind the scenes. So showing that raw piece of your service, of your product, of your business, and getting people, in it without actually being there. Showing case studies and portfolio pieces, work that you've actually done to essentially prove that, you can do what you do. And then also showing people where to buy from you, especially if you are, for example, like a restaurant or a location, take a picture of like the outside of your building so people are familiar with what your building looks like. Or, walk them through a process of what it's like to go through your website. It's making people comfortable and feel confident that they can navigate through wherever it is that you are.
And for consideration too, if you're a not-for-profit, remember you're still collecting money, that your revenue, your goals are going to be donations. And maybe it's not as easy of a conversion because you're not selling a product, but you are selling your organization. And so you do want to talk about perhaps people that have benefited from your organization, right? You get their testimonials. Maybe it's the volunteers that you talk about. That'll be, and they can share their stories. So their experience working in your organization. Um, Case studies of situations that have experienced it as well. So there is a lot of things that parallel to profit or not for profit, works both in the consideration.
And a key phrase and a key term that we will talk about later on, but is harnessing that social proof. So social proof essentially is a term often used to describe something that if it's not on social media, it didn't happen, and it's take a picture, it didn't happen. That kind of term, but people need to see that it's on social media and other people are using it, or else it's not real. And I know that's kind of it's harsh and it's not always in like that's strict, but a lot of people rely on other people using a product first before they feel comfortable buying it. So really utilizing, and especially for not-for-profit, like show your community, show people there, show people participating, volunteering, show people using your product, using your services, get video testimonials. And on this slide, there's a few examples of ways that you can create content that builds trust with people. So it's, sharing that quote or testimonial. Use a video to describe your process. And you don't actually have to get on camera for that one. Film a walkthrough of what it's like to work with you or what it's like to walk through your store. Um, a video of someone using your product, like a real life person. Just, taking a picture of your location or your store, like mentioned earlier. Talk about the problem that you solve, like be specific. Talk to your audience and let them know that this product, this service will solve this problem for you. Um, do a video of first impressions of your product. This could be like an unboxing, somebody testing it out for the first time. Maybe take a picture of your product on the shelf if you're someone who has a product that is in a store or something that is in like another retailer, do a walkthrough of the store and take a picture of exactly where it is on the shelf so people know exactly where to go. And then maybe a production video of you actually packing orders and what it looks like to be a part of the process from the beginning to the, getting ready to ship and then you receiving the package.
And when you come to service industry, it's more than anything because we're in consulting or anything like that. You are selling your expertise. So you have to showcase a way to display your expertise for them to trust you enough to actually sign up for even a discovery call. So how are you going to do that? You can do downloads, you can do resources, blogs are a great way to do that. You will can also do short videos of the services that you sell, like insights. You don't give them the whole everything, but if you are going to do a webinar or an event, you give them a little bit ahead of time so that they know, hey, I like listening to them. They seem to know what they're talking about. And yes, oh, look on their website, there's some testimonials as well. So even if you don't have a hard product, physical product, you still need to do that consideration piece and then making sure you're selling it out through social.
And I think with that, if you are an industry that is, service and it's not a product, so it can be sometimes a little bit more difficult because you don't have a physical product that you're selling, but it's explaining that problem that you solve and really speaking to your audience like you would be speaking to an individual. Like if somebody came to you and was like, "Hey, I have this problem," you're gonna be like, "Yes, I have something for you. This is going to help you, and here is why." Um, so it's answering those specific questions for people and really being involved and then showcasing people using it, testimonials, after somebody used your service and whatnot. Maybe you out doing something that is using your service. I know it is a little bit more difficult when it comes to service-based industries, but it's knowing your audience. It all comes back to that.
Knowing your audience, and then you're going to talk a little bit later about
Hmm.
metrics and understanding to make sure through each of these funnels stages, we want to see what's working and what's not working. Because
Absolutely.
understanding your audience is key and knowing that they change and evolve. Just because you did an audience research a year or two ago, things might be different, right? The economy changes, situations change. So make sure you're always evaluating your social media posts and your content to see what's working and what's not.
Yes, and sometimes you know what, like Laura said, things change, the world changes. So what might be performing really well right now might not be performing well a year from now. And I think with the way the world has taught us anything is things can change all the time. And especially people's buying habits change all the time. So it used to be people would want to go and, try things out. Whereas now you have to assume that everybody wants to buy things virtually and everyone wants to experience your product virtually. So now how are you going to attract that?
Mhm.
So now moving on to the second to last part of the funnel, this is the purchase. So your user, loves what you do, thinks your product is fantastic, they're ready to buy. So now how do you get them from, your social media over to buy from you? It's always about the user experience. So now is the link in your bio optimized? Do you have all of the necessary info provided for the user before they purchase anything? And is the checkout process seamless? Is it easy? So it really does come down to that, 3-click rule. So essentially, people should be able to go after they land on your social media profile. It should only take them about 3 clicks to buy your product or to get to your product page and check out. So after they navigate from your link, They go over to a page that has everything, all the information listed, some easy links, and then they should be able to click a button and go right over to the product. The more time that your user thinks about where things are, the faster you're going to lose them. You essentially don't want them to think about the process. You want to just get them there. So they like your product, they're ready to buy, and then they buy. And we do talk about this a little bit on essentially like how to optimize your profile a little bit better. Um, but it's making that process super seamless. So what makes a good product page that converts? So after they find your product page, it needs to be great, it needs to be eye-catching, all the information is there. So here are a few things that make a really good product page. You could have reviews and FAQs because if you haven't built their trust over social media, this is a little bit of extra, like this is going to work for you. Frequently asked questions are always very important. Um, Type of payment accepted, related blogs, email sign up during the process. This will lead into the next part of the funnel for retention. Shipping information if you ship an actual product, customer support, product images, so all of that important information. And this will always depend on the type of product or service that you sell, but this page needs to essentially display everything.
And even if you're, again, going back to the not-for-profit and you are doing a donation at this purchase stage too, think about something tangible that you can give to that person, even for service oriented. For instance, we donate to one organization, a sustainability focused one that gives you a certificate on how many trees purchased. And that way it's like, oh, look, I have something physical that I can put towards something. And then after that, they start a whole sequence. And that's where, so try and think something tangible to give to them and think of that follow up. And I think, Emily, we talk about it a little bit later, but through this entire process, always think about ways to automate. So you think through that process, that sales, if you use something like MailChimp, there's other email platforms. So once they purchase, think through that series and segment them so that it's not something you have to think through. And that way it allows you to scale and will save you time. It doesn't actually make you money, but saving you money will, at the end of the day, increase your bottom line.
And it's making things super easy for the people buying from you. So if there's a really important piece of information that you need them to know before they buy, move it up to the top. If there's something
Mhm.
that you want them to do next, make sure that it's very clear what you want them to do next. If you are a not-for-profit and you're looking for volunteers, make that super prominent. You don't want people looking around and figuring out, okay, well, I want to volunteer. You have me hooked. Where do I go next? So thinking about that really seamless flow from, down the funnels, like, yes, okay, I found your profile. I want to work with you. How do I do it? And you don't want them to think too much about it. Just get them there.
That's right. And even though today isn't, that's a whole nother discussion, is the customer journey, plotting out how your customer goes from that awareness all the way through to the retention, what what questions they have, how do they feel, what do they need, and then plot out all of those touch points and then see what's working and what's not working. That exercise, I can share that link to some more information about the customer journey, but it will help you in the planning of all of this.
A really good way to test out your customer journey is, if you're new to setting up your website or if you really want feedback, get somebody that you know or a few people that you know that were not a part of your design process and get them to fulfill a task for you. Get them to go to your profile and see if they can find somewhere to go. And a great way to do this is use different demographics. So sometimes when I need somebody to test things, like I'll get my grandmother to test some things out, and if she can do it, it's great. um, yeah, so there's really good ways for you to get feedback without actually, you know, searching for that feedback. Okay, so now we're going to get into the next part of the funnel. All right, so you have hooked your user. They purchased your product. They think it rocks. Now, how do you capture the feedback that you need to help, bring in new people? So you can get reviews. So we're going to utilize that user-generated content, and then we're going to continue the engagement through the funnel. Some really good ways to get feedback is from Google reviews. So making sure that your Google page is, branded very nicely as well, says everything about your business, easy searchable. You can get reviews that way. You can follow up with an email asking for feedbacks. This is what a lot of businesses do. You can set up that automation after they purchase. Maybe an email is sent out like a week or two later, and an easy way for them to get feedback or connect with you on other social media platforms as well. Social media testimonials, maybe if it's a service and you've connected with them through there, you can send them a message saying, hey, like, how was your product? How was your experience? Do you have a few words? Am I able to share it? Or you can set up a feedback form on your product page. And this could be something, super easy for them to find. Maybe it's actually on the product page itself for people to easily submit their feedback. And this could be, a positive or negative, and dealing with those negative feedbacks. Now, how are you going to process that? And that comes to the customer service aspect. And then you also want to keep them around. So how are you going to, have that buyer and be a repeat buyer? Keep them involved, keep them engaged. So utilizing that, you can utilize that customer email list. So keep them on the list, showcasing events, products, helpful tips, resources. You can encourage them to follow your other social media accounts, keep them involved that way, and using your social media as like a resource platform. So somebody has purchased your product. Now, maybe is there some other things that you want to put out for them to, know about the product that they bought? Some other things that could go well with the product that they bought, any interesting facts, how to use it, all of that kind of stuff. And then engaging with your user-generated content is a really good way to keep them around. If they are, sharing stuff to their stories and tagging you in it, being that type of company that's there and actually, likes something or comments on it, be like, oh yeah, thank you so much for sharing. A lot of reasons why people post stuff and tag you in it is because they want you as a business to engage. They think like most people think that it's really cool. It's like, oh yes, this big company, this successful company is engaging with me. Love it. It's super great. And then it gives you an opportunity to connect with that person on a more personal level in the hopes of, sharing their user generated content on your page. Right. Laura, are there any questions at this point?
There is one about, is there a URL in your Google My Business that you use to leave a review? And there is. So if you actually go into your profile, there is a place, bottom right-hand corner, if I remember correctly, that says, how do you get more reviews? And there is a shareable link there. If you can't find it, I know there is a Google support link, but it's right in your Google My Business profile.
There are also ways to integrate Google reviews and stuff on your website as well, depending on the platform you're using. So it might streamline the process for you as a business owner and make things easier. So if people leave a Google business review, it'll automatically appear on your website, which is
And
really
that
cool.
gets to the automation. No matter what, if you can reduce your steps to you having to do things, it will save you time, because we often get that question, does it cost a lot of money to use social media for purchasing? The biggest money is time. And our time as entrepreneurs is most certainly valuable. So do consider that. Paid, paid aspects of all of this, we don't get too much into this, but payment, like advertising, is always and should always be considered a supplement to your organic. Because when you drive traffic over, you want to make sure that there's a lot of organic content for them to understand. It's like setting up your home before you invite them over. So paid works to leverage social media for to make more money, but just make sure it's built on an organic strategy.
And I think Laura and I were talking earlier, it's like the best ads, like paid ads, are the ones that don't look like ads. And they're the
Mhm.
ones that actually look like organic content. And then you realize afterwards, it's like, oh my goodness, this is an ad. I just got hooked on a paid advertisement, but those are the best. And I don't think
They
we have any examples on this presentation, but I believe we did one on our TikTok webinar. We did show some really cool examples on that, which we can share a link to that afterwards as well.
And
Um,
you also are going to be showing in the next slide or two a whole bunch of examples to help you understand all of this. But one thing I do want to make a point of is the customer email list. So all of what we're talking about here, social media, needs to be part of your entire content marketing strategy, your entire digital marketing strategy. It's never considered in a silo because they all start to support each other. And so you have to develop really great content. You have to leverage your social media platforms, right? Then you start building content, then you go out and engage with your users. That engagement takes a lot of time. And then we've mentioned a few times about your customer email list, like putting them on an email list to make sure that you can follow up. Just remember that email marketing is a whole nother tactic, that there are a lot of considerations into it. There are some webinars that we have done previously through the city that you will be able to see those. But one thing you have to remember is you have to let them know that you are going to be continuing to send them emails. You have to have permission for that because as customers, that only lasts so long. And then you want to also make sure you don't spam them. I don't know about you, Emily, but I get so many. And then I was just like, I'm just done and I want to unsubscribe. And the ones that work really well are those ones that allow you to change your preference. That maybe it's like, well, maybe you can change the frequency, or, maybe I just want this kind of information. So think through the customer experience. Once you build all of this trust, you've offered value. Think of their experience and make sure that you don't annoy them, that it's actually a positive experience. So stay in touch, but don't in,
and being
oversend.
and being open to accepting feedback from
Mm,
people. And that is one thing that I do really love about, maybe some of like the online programs that I use is they're always asking for feedback. And I don't actually have to go looking for somewhere where I can submit feedback. Like maybe something isn't working, or maybe I really like how they did something and I want to submit them feedback, but there's no easy way for me to do that because they don't have it easily accessible. I actually have to go and look for it. Or I have to like email support. Like I don't want to do that. I want to be able to do like a brief little, um, blurb maybe in like the bottom corner if there's a way to submit feedback. Or as a business owner, maybe if you don't have something that you want there all the time, send out a feedback form every once in a while. And this is the best way to get, you know, it could be positive reviews that you could use, letting them know that you're going to use it, of course, or it could be ways to help improve things. So it might be some negative feedback, but that could help you streamline your process.
And that definitely, speaking to all of these reviews, negative feedback is, something we're always concerned with. If we put ourselves out there, what if we get a negative comment? Or what if someone puts in a negative review and is upset? From a PR standpoint, you want to manage that reputation. That's where you have to be present. The most important thing is most of us understand that you get these negative reviews. It's how you respond to them. So always make sure that you respond and you take it offline if possible, but show that you care and show them that you're going to work through the process, because that in and of itself will help to build that reputation because you've shown the effort to help.
Absolutely. Right. So let's move on to some of the key metrics. So we went over the funnel, we went over awareness, consideration, purchase, retention. So now how do you measure what's going on in each one of these funnels? So if we take a look at awareness, it's all about, people finding you. So some great ways to take a look at how well that's doing is your followers, how many followers you're getting, and not so much your followers total, but the amount of followers that you continue getting. So if you're at like, 5,000, it's great. and you're putting out content, but your follower number is not increasing, then something is missing. You're not connecting with them as much as possible. So it's the rate that your followers are going up is the number that you really want to look at. The engagement on your posts is really important as well. You know, again, you could have all of these followers, but if you're not getting likes, if you're not getting comments or shares, saves on any of your posts, then the followers that you have are not connecting with the content that you're putting out. So this is where, you know, you might want to reevaluate. And then the traffic to your website or your product page. So taking a look at how many people are actually clicking that link, how many people are going away from social media to go onto your website. What posts are they clicking um, to go over to your website? What's driving them there? And then we're getting at it into the consideration. So the user-generated content, number of posts and sentiments. So are people, you know, tagging you and stuff? Are you getting that user-generated content from people? This is also where you take a look at like the abandoned carts. Are people, you know, maybe not trusting you enough to actually check out what key piece of information might be missing? Your leads, signups for discovery calls, email signups. So how many people are wanting to learn more information from you before they purchase from you? So how are they going to trust you more? And then engagement on like your promotional posts. So are people really liking those ads that you're putting out? What part of that ad is catching their attention, or maybe they're not engaging? So what do you need to do better to connect with your audience to build up that trust level?
And Emily, on the note of consideration too, it's we often get how many posts do you have to put out? Because frequency does matter. And frequency and consistency, you may have to start producing more posts because your one-offs are maybe getting lost, or else there's so much time in between your posts that they can't follow through the chain the same way. So you have to consider how many posts, and then you can start evaluating what kind are doing well.
And a lot of the stuff that you will do in the consideration part of the funnel will be trial and error. Um, as you are starting to understand your target audience and you know their habits, what they like and what they don't like, you have to test it out before you can figure out if it's going to work or not. And sometimes this does take time. Most of the time with the social media strategies that I put out, we don't actually reevaluate until 6 months later because we don't know. We have to continuously and consistently put out posts and content to figure out what is working and what's not working. And this does come with, you know, the organic posts and stuff. You might be able to get a little bit farther ahead if you put ads out and to get information. But if you don't have your process in place, then those ads aren't going to perform well for you. And if you don't know your audience and know their habits, what they like and what they want to know about you, then those ads again aren't going to perform very well.
Mhm.
All right, so now getting into the purchase aspect. So this is where, you know, they're ready to buy from you. So this is the number of transactions from the product that you're promoting or the service that you're promoting, number of purchases, add-on sales. So are they continuing to add things onto their cart after they purchase from you? Purchasing trends like time of day, what products or services specifically are doing well, from what region. This is again going into your audience research. What promo content is converting. Again, looking at the engagement on each promotion. If you're getting a lot of sales after you put out this social media ad, what what is driving them from that ad into over onto these sales, and then how can you leverage that in your organic content, and then DM on purchase experience, so questions and feedback that you're getting during that time. Are there some frequently asked questions that people really want to know about your product, and now how can you add that onto your product page to make the future buyers a little bit more comfortable?
And to jump in on this, and it applies to all the stages, as much as we're tracking these metrics, it's the analysis of it. And it's the analysis within the context of your entire digital marketing plan. Because you could say, okay, well, all of a sudden this product promotional product worked, but this one didn't. And I did it exactly the same. But is it exactly the same? Right? Like your timing may have been off. What else was going on during social media in the world at that time? There could have been a lot of noise. Perhaps this next campaign, you didn't give enough lead in content and think through that customer journey. So you have to take all of these metrics and think of the whole customer journey and what you're doing at that time.
Absolutely. Okay, so getting into the last part of the funnel, we want to know how people are reacting to our product and to our services. So that maybe we're going to take a look at the number of reviews that we've been getting. And this could be overall, this could be, reviews that you're getting on social media, um, taking a look at the user-generated content, the reviews that people are leaving on there. And, are you getting a lot of positive feedback from this? Maybe you're getting some negative feedback on this. And then how can you use this feedback to, like, for the next part of the funnel, for your next promotion, your next product? So it's taking a look at the overall experience that this person is having. Are you getting a lot of direct messages, questions? Again, that looking at those customer feedbacks, and then taking a look at the number of returning customers that you are getting. The whole point, a lot of times, of this funnel is, after you get them through the funnel, you don't want them to disappear. You don't want them to go away. So now, how are you going to keep them around? How are you going to keep them coming back? So this is where we can, how many returning customers are you actually getting? And if you're not getting any, how can we keep them coming back? So these are some really important metrics that will help you, cycle through that funnel and figure out, maybe if people are stopping at that consideration part, how are you going to get them to the purchase or retention? Or maybe if they're not leaving reviews on any of your products, how can you how can you better your process to get those reviews? Any questions so far, Laura?
Nope. I think we're all just excited to see all the examples.
Amazing. Yes. So next, so I'm going to go through all 4 stages of this funnel and show some real life examples that I have found. Um, So if we're looking at awareness, so I tried to use a bunch of different platforms um, to showcase this. So this is the awareness part. So people are landing on your page. They want to know who you are, what you do, and get familiar with you. They want to learn what kind of community that you are a part of. So on LinkedIn and on Facebook, they definitely aren't as visual as I mentioned before, but it's, right away, like for the company on LinkedIn and on Facebook, I know exactly what they do. Their branding is consistent. They're using the logos and they show the kind of, vibe that they want to be. I know what they do. I know where they are and what kind of service that they offer. And then for the Instagram and TikTok, these examples, again, like they're very visual. So I want to be able to land on it and I want to know exactly what kind of community that I'm going to be a part of. What kind of vibe am I gonna feel? What are the experiences that I'm gonna have? So Merritt Brewery, which is in Hamilton, amazing brewery, by the way. I know exactly how I'm gonna feel if I go there. It's fun, great food, there's beer, and they show a lot of people, which is awesome.
So this is the hook, right?
Yeah,
Emily, like really, and we talk about this percentage of content. So no matter what, your Instagram and TikTok are huge, but we still look and surf the Facebook and LinkedIn to see what kind is there. But for sure on the visual, you want to inspire, educate, inspire, very, very low percentage of promotional, right?
absolutely.
10% maybe promotional, and I know that has changed over the years, but really it's about encouraging them in an inspirational way.
And I think really important too with the Facebook is really utilizing that call to action button. So even if I didn't know that this was a restaurant right away, that really prominent blue button says reserve. So it's like, okay, like I know that I have to reserve something and it's easy. So if I wanted to go to this Facebook page and or even if I knew who they were, hit reserve, I don't have to look for that anywhere. Like it's right at the top. It's super prominent and I know exactly what they want me to do. Um, so then getting into consideration. So for this example, I really pulled from Instagram and TikTok because it's a little bit more of a visual platform and it's easy for me to show. So this is where, you want to build that trust. And what kind of content are you going to share to help other people know that your product or your service works? Um, so, for example, starting on the left, Merit Brewery used an employee using the product. So now this is introducing somebody that actually works there, showing that, their favorite product, showing the product itself, how it works. Obviously, it's a drink, she's going to drink it, but it's actually showing the motion of her drinking it. So, building a little bit of trust there. We're going into another restaurant that is showing the store location. So they are in a fairly busy city. A lot of the buildings generally look the same, but they wanted to post a picture. So when you're driving by, it's like, oh yeah, I saw that on Instagram or I saw that on Facebook. I know exactly where that is. Um, Next video going into the TikTok aspect of it is a company who is filming a video showing exactly what problem they're solving. So they're not actually on camera, but they're showing how their product works and what problem it's going to solve. Another video is the owner packing your product and showing what goes into the process of putting everything together and making everything super nice. So it's helping you be a part of the experience before you actually get your product. And then a next one, which is really cool, is Freight Farms. So they are a vertical farming. So they take shipping containers and turn it into vertical farms. So because this is a product that people can't, come in and they can't see and they can't like experience it because everything is virtual nowadays, they do a lot of walkthrough tours of their shipping containers and of their product before you actually get it because people won't be able to experience it until, after they get it. So this is a great way, especially nowadays. It's having that virtual experience before people get it.
And that's the extending your reach as well. So even if you are a physical location where you get walk-in traffic, we now have people that are accustomed to virtual before they even leave. They want to consider the fact that they're going to make the trek out to your store. So that virtual, not only will it reach your local audience who is now comfortable online, but perhaps you are in Mississauga and you want to reach some smaller town communities from Niagara. And it's like, well, if I'm going to make the drive, I want to know what I'm getting in for. I want to know your hours. I don't want to know if I can purchase, and I want to know if that product is for me. So this consideration online is extending your reach as well.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're going to get into the purchase aspect. They love what you're doing. It's great. They are ready to work with you or they are ready to buy from you. So this is where they're going to go from your bio link to your website or product page. And we do talk about it a little bit further in this presentation about why social commerce is super great and utilizing the commerce features that some of these platforms have, like Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all that kind of stuff. Like um, they do have features where you can actually add your products into it so people don't have to go over to your website right away. But the first thing that you need to do is make sure your bio link is optimized. So on the left is actually an example of our bio link. So we've actually created something custom on our website that has the really important links that we want people to find. So it doesn't just go over to our website and then we hope that people find, what we're talking about. It's like, no, we customize these buttons to exactly what we're promoting. Um, if you are selling a product, it's making sure that landing page, that link page has products that are clearly displayed with high-res images. And so Lululemon does a really, really good job with their product. It not only shows the actual product itself, but it continues showing the brand consistency and the lifestyle um, on their product page. On the right-hand side is an example of the Instagram commerce and the product for this hot sauce. They have all their products listed. It's super simple, super clean. So this is actually through Instagram, but then when you click on a product, you would go over to their webpage. So the image on the far right is actually their webpage. Clearly shows the product, it shows what it is, the price, that they can order more than one, and then a very easy button to add to cart, or they can just check out right now. And then that shipping is calculated at checkout. So it's streamlining that process, but keeping your brand consistent throughout so people don't get lost. Okay, so then now retention. So what's next? So they bought from you, they love it, it's great. Now, how do you utilize their love for your product to help bring in more people? So again, it's using that Google reviews, making it super seamless for people to find you. Your brand is staying consistent. Getting into that user-generated content, so sharing your buyer's content. Um, so I know it's really great when people use your product, they tag you in on social media um, and talk about it, and then it's easy for you to reshare. However, it's always really important to, ask permission before you go and you reshare stuff. So this could be something in your privacy policy on your website, or maybe it could be as simple as be like, hey, thank you so much for posting. I love it. I would love to, I would really like to reshare this on my profile. Would that be okay with you? In most cases, people are tagging you in a post in hopes that they would reshare something, but it never hurts to reach out and to ask and to get their permission. Because the last thing that you want to do is someone be angry, be like, that's my post, you can't use it. And then it's another way to build that connection too, and makes them feel special that a big company is reaching out to somebody to share their content.
And no matter what, right, Emily, I mean, it's typical that you would know what account it's being shared from, but if it's coming from somewhere else, just always remember, however you share it, that you give credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then, maybe utilizing your page for helpful resources. So sharing more content about how to use your product, sharing influencers, user-generated content, and building that community so people want to stay within that community. Most likely, people are buying you because they like the way that you make them feel, whether it's a service or whether it's a product. So continue growing that community and providing those resources. You can also utilize platforms, like Instagram, LinkedIn, and share like actual testimonials. And this is great. You again, asking permission is always really important. Sometimes they might not want you to use their name or what they bought. In this case, they used a testimonial. They provided their name, first name, and the first letter of their last name, and exactly what they bought. So this is a great way of building that connection and exactly what it was that they bought, and then how that person felt. But asking permission is very important in this scenario.
So for the retention piece, helpful resources are mostly in that afterwards, right? Like it's so how do I use the product? Or are there different sizes as my child grows? Is there add-ons, things like that? Is that kind of helpful resources at this stage?
Absolutely. And maybe different ways to use the product.
Mm.
For example, if you um, bought one of those really cool dresses that can turn into like 10 different things, it's like, oh, like I figured out a new way you can use this. Or maybe for like this baby clothes, tips on how to wash it properly. Or maybe if you got a stain, here's how to get it out. Um, how to hang the clothes, if it pairs better with these pair of pants, if it pairs better with this pair of pants, how to properly wear it, all of that kind of stuff. Um, okay, so let's talk a little bit about social media e-commerce. So how can we leverage the features that social media gives us to sell our products? So social media e-commerce, or also known as social shopping, is really great because for one, it allows you to use like the social media platforms analytics to see who's engaging with what. It combines awareness with purchase, which is super important, less clicks to purchase. Remember, because we always want to, have that like 3-click max. It supports that social proof, that people actually have purchased your product, that it works, that it's actually doing something. It's on social media. Ability to easily provide lifestyle images. This feature is really cool too. And what I have done with some previous clients in the past is if somebody shares a photo of the product and they tag us in it, but they don't do any other crazy stuff in regards to like collaborating, we can actually send a request to that person to share that lifestyle image in our product catalog. And then they would also gain credit for it, which is really cool. And again, it saves us time from contacting that person, asking for permission. We just send over a very simple request. And then your shop product navigation is automatically optimized. The great thing about these social media commerce, for example, Instagram, like this image here, all of the shops will have the same kind of layout and it'll be very familiar with people. It would be more customized when they go to view on website and they would go over to your website. But as they're shopping through the Instagram feature, all of the so-called shops all have the same layout and they're all optimized. So all you have to do is plug in the information and add your images. You do have to go through your Facebook catalog essentially to add all of your products, but everything looks the same and it's super great and easy for your audience. So social media e-commerce, not all social media e-commerce features are available in Canada yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't play around with it and see what works and what doesn't work. So the social shopping is available for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and Facebook. But again, not all features are available to us quite yet. Um, but you know what? We got to be ready. When it comes, you got to be on top of it. Because once, here in Canada, it's ready to shop, I mean, I know I'm going to be the first to test out that feature and be a consumer. So I'm really excited about that.
And if you're a not-for-profit, for any who are on the call, there are specific not-for-profit features. So always make sure that you set up your profiles as a not-for-profit and have a look. We did a not-for-profit digital marketing webinar. I'll drop it into the chat, that link, and it talks through. Now, obviously things change. So look onto each platform for the features that are available for you.
Any questions about social media e-commerce at the moment?
I'm curious if how many people are actually using social commerce, and feel free to say yes. I know I don't know how engaged our chat's allowed on here, but we would love for your feedback as well as questions on this because we'll talk about more on this at the Q&A. But it's a great opportunity. Thanks,
Mm-hmm.
Sam.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now another great thing that we want to talk about is how do you leverage those influencers and your buyers to get that UGC, which is the user-generated content, because this is the type of content that is going to help with that social proof. It's going to help with that consideration and build trust because people are actually using it. So a good way to build an influencer program, if this is something that you'd want to do, is you always have to consider your budget. So now how much money are you willing to spend? How much, and budget doesn't always mean money, but it does mean time. So now how much time are you going to put into that? Policies and program guidelines, if you're actually putting together guidelines, like an actual program, what brand and media assets are they going to need from you? Key messaging, what are those really important talking points that you want your influencers to talk about? A contract, if applicable. This is usually applies to if you're working with those like larger influencers that actually require um, payment to promote. Timelines, marketing calendars. I mean, you should have this anyways. What's going on in the world, if you have any sales, um, like any promotions, anything like that, this marketing calendar should be available to your team. And then who's going to project manage it? So who's going to maintain all the influencers? Who's going to search for them? Who's going to track all of their analytics, make sure that they're actually doing their job, all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things to consider when building an influencer program. However, you don't always need to build a program to find influencers. There are a lot of different types of influencers that you can work with. And they could be simple as, the customers and clients that you have sold to. So again, it's going back, as we talked previously, if somebody shares something on social, you can easily just ask them, be like, hey, we really love this post. This would be amazing for us to use. Less work for you to create it. It's already been done for you. I know there is a really good feature on Instagram that allows people to collaborate on posts. So I know we've done it with Idea a couple times, and someone will create a post. We invite somebody else to collaborate, and then it will show up on both feeds. So if you have, customers and stuff that actually want to collaborate on something, all you have to do is accept, and then it will show on your feed. And I can definitely walk through that more if people have questions about that. Um, Another really good group of influencers is people actually on your team, like within your internal team, like your employees, your volunteers, you as the business owner are an influencer for your product and for your service because who better knows it than you? So, turn yourself into an influencer, and employees are great. So, like how I mentioned with Merit Brewery, the employee, not only did I get to meet the employee, but I got to see her actually using the product, which is really cool. Brand ambassadors. So these are the people that, love your brand. They understand your values. They're the people that share the same vision as you, and they just want to promote it because they love it. And then we're going to get into the professional content creators. So these are more of like the paid influencers. So there's different types of influencers that go everywhere from nano influencers to like the mega influencers that have 1 million+ followers. These are more like the celebrity types. This is more so where you would build out, like you would have like that contract. Your brand ambassadors could be something where you build out, a program for them. But all of this does come with a lot of time. I think if you are at the beginning stages, focusing on your customers and clients, and then maybe getting your internal team involved. This is really great for not-for-profits and stuff, for like volunteers and stuff, and showing people actually there. Any questions about influencers, Laura?
No, but I just want to add in again is that you, as the CEO of your company, need to think of yourself as an influencer. It's almost not an option. You have to, and especially if you are service-based. And this is where it sometimes gets a little murky on, well, what's the difference between if I'm just, one or two people in my team, what's the difference from it being an influencer in my company? And we really have to separate that, right? That your company stands alone. It is its own identity, and things that happen through the company and things like that, products you sell, case studies that you've done, sessions maybe that you've done as a team. Like for Emily and I, this is something we've done through Acorn Studio Marketing. But you also have your own network and you have your own group, and you stand alone as an influencer and a potential thought leader for your organization. So for me, I have my LinkedIn network, right? I have my own blog. Emily has the same. And when we come together and we talk about different things, where she will talk about graphic design and I will talk about strategy and public relations and communications. And then when we come together, we work on projects at Acorn. So always make sure that you think of yourself as an influencer and you leverage that, because it's really important. Not only do you have the expertise, but you have the passion. That's why you started this organization in the first place. So, and it's your time, but it's free technically if you're thinking about paid advertising, paid media. So really focus on that. And then if you do have internal team members, Make it easy for them to share. They are more likely to share if you provide them with content ahead of time, at least in guidelines. Not to say you have to share this, but give them an idea. And they will also be more likely to share if you've shared or someone else in their organization has shared. So there's a whole program opportunity that you can build in there, and it doesn't take a lot. And most of the time, your employees love being there, right? You've created this culture. Let them share and talk about what you're doing. So give them policies, give them guidelines, give them content, and encourage them to be the best brand ambassadors as possible. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, love it. All right, so some of the key takeaways. Laura, do you want to take this one over?
Sure. So make sure you think through that purchase funnel and the experience is seamless. So that's where we talked about that customer journey. Make sure you always know what you're trying to achieve. It goes back to your digital marketing plan. Know where that calendar is, and then think through content. And engagement through each step of the way, all the way through to retention. As much as it's a funnel, it's always ongoing, right? Like sometimes you'll have a post that covers 2 or 3 sections of the funnel. So make sure you think through it and that you also test that sales process so that make sure what Emily had mentioned that you get someone else to do it. So you've thought through the sales funnel, you've got posts ready to go, and now it's like, well, I got to make sure that everything's working. So that's the point too. So make sure you test. And then number 3 is continue to learn about your target audience. I know we talk about this, I think, Emily, in every single digital marketing session that we do because it's so important, because this is why you are showing up. These are the people, these are your clients and your customers. So you want to learn what they really want. What are those motivators that will get them to be a part of your community, but actually purchase, and make it easy for them. Maybe you don't like Facebook and you don't like Instagram, but if that's where your clients are, you're going to have to be there. And maybe you don't like working on email, but that seems to be the best customer support to keep things through. So always think about your audience and then make it easy for them to purchase. Number 4 is those analytics. Set up your analytics early. You can only track once that code and those processes are put in place. So make sure you set that up and then have an idea of what metrics you want to measure and then consistently check them and report on them because we want to look for trends, right? So that is making sure you're set up, and that number 5 is also to review them and analyze it within your full digital marketing structure. And if there's a problem, fix it. So you'll have to, and it's hard because you're always busy and you're doing things, you're putting out content. Make sure you have regular milestones where you'll have a chance to evaluate your strategy. If you can't do it on your own, look to an employee, look to get some strategic support, maybe from a digital agency or a freelancer. But either way, you need to put content out and review them consistently and make sure you're optimizing it. Keep things as simple as possible. You've got a microsecond to track them, and make sure they're visually appealing and they know how to purchase. Your call to action is clear. And then have that mix of organic content in your funnel. Look to those pillars that you have created, that type of content that you're going to have, which is, typically your inspire, your education, your promotion. What are those topics you're going to talk about? And then only 10% promotional. Right? Always look to focus first and foremost on to inspire and inform. And whenever possible, your promotional ones, make sure they kind of look, as Emily mentioned, that native, that it's actually still could be inspirational. And then we talked about considering your whole sales cycle to optimize the experience. So always experience. Make sure whatever you do that it's positive, it's easy, and it inspires them, and they enjoy being part of your community and will want to support you as a brand. And then paid always supplements organic. Did we miss any, Em?
I think that pretty much covers it. Last thing that I do want to mention is we are sending you home with a digital download. If you'd like, it is a Google document, but we're also going to send it out as a PDF. It is a working template if you'd like. It basically just sums up everything that we talked about today. And there's also some spots that you can fill in the blanks to help you with your planning process. We also put in some pages, to help you plan out your if you wanted to build out an influencer program, um, and just some key points to remember, and planning out your goals and what's going on with your business, and helping you track your analytics. There's also a page in there with some key resources on how to set up social commerce on Facebook and Instagram, Pinterest, and all that kind of stuff, as well as some helpful blogs to read if you want to learn some more stats on why social commerce is important, and then how to connect with us as well. So I think Laura put it in the chat if you guys wanted to go ahead and check it out. It's really awesome.
Thanks, Emily. And yes, you worked your magic to make sure it all works. It's on Google Docs, so you can just copy that and create it for your own. And so I dropped the link in. It will be available afterwards on our website, which I put in the link to our free resources. However, the free resources wasn't a hyperlink, so I'm just going to do that again for you. And it'll be available afterwards. We just do have the email right now because you guys have participated. You just get a free direct link. It's all yours. So enjoy. Thanks, Emily. We now have Q&A. We could probably stop sharing. We will download. We did our presentation on Miro. I don't know if anyone has used Miro before, but if you are in the service industry or you do engage with people, it is a platform that we use. It is an online whiteboard. It's been kind of fun to use.
Yeah.
So we can export that and give you the slides afterwards. We'll get the City of Mississauga will send that out to all of you. So yeah, so if you have any questions, we're here for the next few minutes and happy to answer that, or any feedback. Is there anyone out there that has had great success or some inspiration that says, okay, this is what I'm doing, I'm on the right path, or interested in just getting started and have any of those not sure where to start questions? Oh, great. I'm glad you found that helpful. Okay. Okay, so let us know if you can't get that link. It is in the chat, so you should be able to download that. Emily, that was really good. I know there's a lot of examples out there. Do you find there's a section where people typically get stuck in this? Like, you know how like it's that funnel. Is it the building awareness or is it the consideration, or do they can't get people to convert? What
I
is your
think
feedback
it's
on that?
usually the place that people get stuck is the consideration part. So it's knowing, it's figuring out how to build that trust aspect of it. So how do you get people to understand that your product is going to communicate with them, and how to use those keywords and create that hook that is going to, bring people in, especially those new followers. Usually people that are involved with your community, your online community for a while, they've been following along, they know important information about you already. Um, but it's bringing in those new people and creating that, as most people would call it, viral that viral content. So how do you create that hook? And
Mm,
it all comes back to knowing your audience and knowing
right.
exactly what problem you are going to solve, and telling them what problem that you are going to solve, instead of, you know, cookie cuttering it and, making it nice and light and fluffy. It's like, no, 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 tell me what problem you're solving for me. Because as much as a business owner, your time is very valuable. As a consumer, your time is also very valuable. So understanding that they don't have all the time in the world to look for all the information that you have provided. It's like you need to tell them exactly what it is that you're solving.
And quickly. Do it and do it quickly right up at the
Yeah.
top. And then they can choose if they want to read more information. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's what was that stat that we mentioned last time? It's an average, like if you want to create a video, it should be between like 5 to 7 seconds, and that's it.
It depends on the content and
It
it depends
depends
on
on
your
the content,
audience.
but on average, people will not watch a video for more than 7 seconds.
So you got
Um,
to hook them in. So
you
even if you
have to hook
have a
them.
longer content, make sure you hook them
Yes.
at the beginning. So I think that's the key. So we do have one question about SEO. And can you elaborate on how that plays into this whole process?
Yeah, so especially in the awareness part, having that, that bio really optimized with those keywords is how people are going to find you. Um, because that content that you have in your bio is searchable. Like people will search, for example, in Instagram, they're going to search for sustainability. And if you have sustainability in your bio, you show up in that category, that those list of profiles that are a part of that keyword. So you do have very limited characters, but you need to use them wisely and use those keywords.
And if we're talking about purchasing, make sure that, it's as we'd mentioned about LinkedIn, put it in your profile that this is what you do. I do graphic design, or I sell eco-friendly clothing or whatever that might be for whomever that is. So make sure you've done, and if you haven't done a business plan, and I don't mean an extensive business plan, it can be on business model canvas, it can just be a short, sweet one. We actually have a blog about what are those key things, but like your value added proposition. Why should they care? Who's my audience and why should they care? What makes me exceptional compared to somebody else? And make sure that's very clear throughout all of your marketing. So for keywords, search engine optimization, absolutely. And in your product pages, for sure. Please make sure that you optimize, and we didn't get into that. We did highlight some things on your product page. Definitely take those as a checklist and evaluate them. Make sure that you have your product description all filled out and that the back end is also filled out. And that's where the search engines come in. So make sure that that is optimized. And any photos you use, that it's mobile friendly, that it's shrunk, right? So it's compressed, so that will show up quickly for page speed. So that will help with your SEO.
And make sure that all of your images are named
Name,
properly. Like you
alt
don't want to have
text.
like untitled underscore 24 dot JPEG. Like make sure that it's named properly, because when people search on, like, if you go on Google and you search for something, let's say affordable summer dresses, there's an image section on Google where you can just search by images instead of searching for like websites. And if your image is not named properly, nobody's going to find it.
Your image or your videos, and we didn't talk about Google Shopping, but that is another
That's a whole
opportunity to
nother
get, I
world.
know, but it's another opportunity to get on for your searches. So
Yes.
someone's asking about IG followers. I know we've talked about that in a few other sessions. I put in a link to our digital marketing one that's on the City of Mississauga, that we've put all the links to all the different digital marketing sessions that have been done to date. Emily, you did one on building engagement. There's other ones on Instagram. We have another social media 101 and 201. A lot of them talk about how to build it. And it is specifically, we do have some ones on Instagram, and that a lot has to do with that constant content, right? And using your hashtags, creating intriguing captions, making sure your visuals are good. Like visuals, it's so visual, right? And never go out and purchase followers. We never do that.
Oh my goodness, please don't.
I know, and I think it's everyone knows it. I just feel sometimes I have to um,
It just
say
it's
that.
it's terrible. And
Yeah,
be very careful on some of the apps that you use to help you track how many, like, who's unfollowing you, because I know a lot of accounts that have used apps like that to figure out, essentially to get more stats of like who exactly is unfollowing you, who's blocked you, blah blah blah, because some of those apps will sell your information. And so
interesting.
yes, please be very careful with that, and just use the analytics that Instagram has at first. Or if you have like a scheduling platform, like we use Hootsuite and Plan, which is very similar to like Later and Planoly, and they give really good analytics.
Okay,
Yeah,
good advice. Someone also is talking about the food industry, and I know you have a lot of experience
I
in the
do.
food service industry. Can you give some tips on what kind of content converts, and especially if you're just starting out your grid?
Food.
Food.
Pictures, high quality pictures of food and people eating the food, or, drinking beer at the bar or um, inside of your restaurant. If you
Yeah,
have an actual location, I want to know what it looks like. So when I book my reservation, I mean, I like to pick like which side of the restaurant I make requests to pick which side of the restaurant I want to be on. I want to know what side of the restaurant I want to be on. I want to see interiors. I want to see what it looks like, a walkthrough. Um, Maybe I want to meet the bartender, like a video of introduction of the bartender, what it's like to walk in, information about parking if you live downtown or if you're like a location downtown. If you are someone where the entrance is kind of like beside other people's, like how what entrance is yours? Like I want to know details and I want to know the experience of what it's like to be in the restaurant before I go to the restaurant.
perfect. That says it all,
Really
really. And this
simple.
is where it goes back to your audience, your empathy map. What do they feel? What do they want to feel? What's that experience? Think through all the senses. I mean, I know we can't do the smell, but is there a way to create the memory of the smell, right? Like, oh, a pizza coming out of the oven, and somebody's look on their face, like how can we express that? All of those things are really great content, right? To make you inspire, like, get me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I want to see how things are made. Like I'm a huge like I love sitting at the bar. Like anytime we go to a restaurant, like I don't like sitting at a table. I'd much rather sit at a bar because I like watching people make the cocktails. So it's like I love those pieces of content where it's a video of the bartender actually making a drink or pouring a beer or, plating a piece of food. Like I want to be a part of it, of the entire process.
It's building that sense of community, that tribe. And what are those things? Why do people go? Always ask the why are they going to go? They want to experience good food. They want to have an atmosphere that they like. Maybe they're celebrating a specific event, right? Maybe, oh, I'm going to showcase a wedding. Or, oh, I never thought about that for, an anniversary party. Oh, brunch, a Mother's Day brunch, all of those types of things. Even if they haven't thought about it, you need to think about it for them. So that's where customer research isn't so much specific, but because you sometimes have to help them understand things that they don't even realize.
Yeah.
So that's really great. Naming images on your website absolutely is important. Is it important to name the images on your social media?
Yes.
Okay, it's good to
Yes.
know.
It is indeed.
Yeah, and that's hard to do when you're busy. I know I fall into that category. It's like, oh, I just need to get that up. I'll change it later. Don't change it later, even though it's really tempting. Think of your naming conventions and those keywords and make it easy to be found. And think about what you would search on to and make sure it's compressed. Tiny JPEG is one that and JPEG, not PNGs, right, Emily? Is the or does it?
I
Does
mean, as long as it depends on the size. Um,
But for the website, it's JPEG. Help me
for,
understand
for
this. But for
website, I usually use JPEG. For
okay,
social media, I find PNG performs better.
performs
Um,
better because it's a higher resolution, right?
yes,
Okay, so that's
yes,
good to
yes.
know.
And a lot of social media platforms allow you to add meta descriptions on your images, what actually is actually great for SEO within the social media platform.
So how do you do it afterwards? So if help me understand how you would name them because normally you take a picture and it just goes right up onto your social platform, right?
Yeah, so if you take a picture and stuff and if it doesn't give you an option to rename it, or maybe if you don't have time, in the process of posting it, it'll allow you to add a meta description, which is
Mhm.
a brief description essentially of like what is in the photo. It shouldn't be your entire caption. It should be a brief description of exactly what that photo is.
Okay. So just look for it. Every
Yeah.
platform will be different, right?
It might be in like the advanced settings in some of it, but I highly recommend taking, that extra like minute and a half to just type a couple things out.
Okay. Well, thanks, Emily. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and all the questions and comments. We are at time. You have all the links. We will send everything out, and you'll have, for anyone who's rewatching this recording, the links will be available down in the description and on the ideamississauga.ca website. And then we also have acornstudio.marketing. So if you want to get in touch with Emily and ourselves, we do have free discovery calls. So we'll drop that in there as well. It's always great talking social media, and we do come back again and talk about how to build your online store, right? The end of June. So if anyone who's interested in Idea Mississauga webinars coming up now and then in the fall again, sign up for their newsletter. I think Mona, you've dropped that in, and you're going to be sending everyone emails out afterwards, and it's always a good way to stay in touch.
Yes, exactly. So I just want to drop back in and remind everyone that we do have that webinar coming up on June 28th at 7:30. Sorry, 7 p.m. So yeah, we do hope to see you guys there again. And thank you so much to Laura and Emily again for a wonderful webinar. It's always nice to have you guys on board. And yeah, we really hope to see everyone at the next one as well. So make sure you guys sign up. The link is in the chat area.
Great. Thanks, Mona. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.